First on the agenda is roll call.
Alderman Myers.
Here.
Alderman Lindbergh.
Here.
Alderman Soul.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Bray.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the invocation by Valley Community Church.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for the leadership that you have blessed this town with. God, we just pray that you would give them wisdom continually. God, protection over them and their families. God, we're so grateful that they've stepped up to serve our city in this way. God, we just pray your blessing over them for that. In your name we pray. Amen.
Next on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Alderman Bray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
Okay. Next up is proclamation. Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. Public is asked to please limit their comments to 3 minutes. And if you do speak, please sign the book.
My name's Michael Statt. I am a member of the Fraternal Order of Police and trustee of Lodge 50. Lodge 50 represents the officers and sergeants of the Green Valley Police Department. I'm here currently to speak to you guys about the proposed use tax. I want to begin by saying that Lodge 50 understands that our members, as well as the police department as a whole, would benefit greatly from this additional funding. We believe the funding would increase the professionalism, capabilities, and resources of our department while addressing some of the concerns that have been brought forward during recent contract negotiations. However, our members have spoken with many stakeholders over the last few days, and we have found that the concerns of our members are very similar to those citizens we serve. Our primary concern is that the current language is too vague. Specifically, there is no clear percentage breakdown identifying how the funds will be divided between the police and transportation. We believe the citizens deserve to know how this money will be allocated and what portion will be directly supporting public safety. Our second concern is the lack of language stating that these funds will not be used to supplant the city's existing funding for the police department and transportation. In other words, we want to make sure that this is truly additional funding that will allow these services to grow as the community grows, rather than simply replacing the money that is already being provided. If these concerns can be addressed by adding clear language regarding the allocation of the funds, ensuring that the revenue supplements rather than replaces the existing funding, Lodge 50 would more than likely support and endorse this use tax. The statistics speak for themselves. Calls for service have increased over the years. The nature of those calls continue to present greater challenges and risks to our officers. As the city grows, the demands placed on our police department will continue to grow as well. A professional police department benefits everyone in the community. It allows officers to better serve the citizens, respond to increasingly complex situations, and mitigate risks and liabilities to both the city and the public. We believe the passage of this use tax will, with the appropriate safeguards and clear language, can be an important step in continuing the growth and improvement that the Green Valley Police Department has already achieved. Lodge 50 supports investing in our community, investing in public safety, and investing in the future of Green Valley. We simply believe that investment should be clearly defined, transparent to the citizens, and in addition to the funding already provided. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Sheila Arnold, 31603 East Ryan Road. I'm here to talk to all of you, but specifically to Mr. Myers, Mr. Headley, and Mr. Sullivan, because you guys represent me and a whole lot of my friends out here. We don't need any more taxes, please. Don't take any more money from anybody that is already struggling, whether they're newlyweds, whether they're single, whether they're seniors. We've had enough of taxes. and pushing it all off on one night. Shame me, shame me.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shelby Woodstock. My address is already on file. It's been an interesting 2 weeks since last meeting. Cameras have been cut down in North Kansas City and Kearney. St. Charles and Pulaski County have pulled their contracts. Over in Texas, a constable bragged on social media that he got to bag and cut down his city's cameras. Even Flock's CEO changed their recommended retention period from 30 to 7 days. So on July 27th, Alderman Bray suggested that the board review a contract and ask for a follow-up from his May 11th inquiry. August 10th, not only did private citizens ask for more oversight, but a policy memo was passed around to the board for a type of flock oversight. So instead of the topic being put on the agenda like we had hoped, it looks like a new local tax is trying to slip through. And I'm gonna have to say, no sane person is going to vote yes on more taxes. I find it rather worrisome that some of the board thinks it's acceptable to make flock jokes and ask for more funds than take the public's concerns seriously. Besides my stack of proof that Flock lies, police misusing the system, and lawsuits against Flock, I have with me a resolution to end our contract with Flock. I won't read it because it'll end up taking the rest of my time. I have one printed for every alderman, the mayor, and the city attorney if you'd like one. To conclude, I would like to ask a very simple question of the board. Of course, you aren't required to answer, but a simple yes or no would probably be appreciated by the public. Have you read the entire Flock contract yourself? Alderman Myers? No comment? Richie Knox? No comment? Ryan Skinner? None? Headley? None?
I have,
You have?
yes.
Right on. Brian Bray, I already know your answer. Lisa Lindbergh?
Yes, I have.
Awesome. Kyle, have you?
Yes, I have.
Cool. Well, that is all I have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Would you like these, yes or no?
Sure.
Sure.
Absolutely. I'll take them here.
Brief statement. My name is Rachel Morgenster. I've written my address down on the login in the back. My public speaking, I'm very nervous about public speaking, and I haven't spoken the last 2 meetings that I've been here. But I would like to say that I am here to support those that are speaking against the flock cameras and to watch what happens at the board meetings. I wish to keep this comment simple, but hopefully well received. I am against the flock and systems alike. And I am completely against the new local tax and tonight's agenda. Thank you.
What was your last name again? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Last name?
Morgenster.
Can you spell that for me real quick?
Morgester.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
My name's Brandon Trout, 1301 Northwest Cedar Lane, Grand Valley, Missouri. 2 things I came to bring up tonight. One would be the license plate readers, also known as the flock system, and also the proposed tax. I'm a very strong supporter of the flock system and all the camera systems out there. I think there's a lot of misinformation that's being spread, and quite frankly, conspiracy theories that just don't exist, and the facts don't back up the stuff that's being spread about them. The facts are that these things, they prevent crimes, they solve crimes. Crimes that would have never been solved are being solved on a daily basis. Homicides are being solved. The city right next door has solved multiple homicides by the flock cameras. And some of these may have never been solved, could have been years, you know, who knows at this point, but some were solved within days, if not minutes. Amber alerts, children are being found. Silver alerts, elderly people with dementia are being found. You know, the benefits of them far outweigh any type of infringement that there is out there. I'm a realist. I do know that the cameras have been misused. And with any technology, the potential for something to be misused, it's out there. But the facts are the criminals are getting more and more advanced. And if we start limiting ourselves with technology, they're just gonna pull further and further ahead of us. I would encourage the city council to, all these things that people keep bringing up, the misuse of them, they're few and far between. It's not a widespread thing like people would lead you to believe. Sort through the facts and know the facts. Some of these departments that have gotten rid of them, it's a knee-jerk reaction. And, you know, the Fourth Amendment, the courts have widely ruled officers are able to run license plates. It's not a violation like of the Fourth Amendment that they keep putting out there. And I just ask that you guys sort through the facts before any type of decision is made. And the second thing, the tax, I'm not gonna get into whether I'm for or against it. My thing with the tax is the officers in Green Valley, depending on which rank you are, as far as officer, supervisor, they're about $15,000 to $20,000 less than what the metro average is getting paid. I appreciate that the council is finding a way to pay our officers, but I would like to see the council being committed, if this tax doesn't work, to be committed to getting our officers paid what they deserve. And right now, frankly, they're well underpaid what the metro average is. Granted, Green Valley is a little bit smaller, and, you know, I know they can't afford to pay, say, what Kansas City does, but we gotta be in the ballpark and in the game to retain veteran officers. Veteran officers lead to better police department and, you know, better at solving crimes and enforcing the laws. I walk my neighborhood daily. I see our officers out all the time driving. I love living here, and I think they do a great job, and they need to be compensated. Thank you.
My name's Emily Mays. My address is on file. Quickly, I just want to share, I have a degree in criminal justice. Both parents are in law enforcement. I too believe in facts, and the facts that block cameras are not being misused widely is wrong. I want to give you 4 names. Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, Jeff Lewis, and Peter Thiel. Now I want to tell you 3 things that these people have in common. They're billionaires with major ethical standard issues. Together, they're listed in the Epstein files over 2,000 times. This is not a conspiracy. Number 3, they are the leading funders of Flock, and we need to discuss how much power we are handing to their private companies. Unfortunately, 3 minutes isn't enough time to go over each individual's character content, but I can tell you it's not a good look. And now we're learning more from the released files and records about the relationships, the networks, and the concerning topics of discussion that are being had for decades between unimaginably wealthy people and the institutions they fund. But I'm not standing here arguing guilt by association. I'm arguing that when private billionaires and venture capitalist firms are financing infrastructures capable of tracking the movements of ordinary Americans, we have every right and every responsibility to scrutinize who is behind it. Because Flock simply isn't a camera taking pictures when somebody drives by. It's becoming an interconnected nationwide network of data mining. And Flock is currently developing tools capable of combining its camera information with police records and other databases like hospital records. Again, look into Peter Thiel. So when I hear that we've moved to a 7-day retention plan instead of turning them off, I see that there's a complete lack of knowledge on the subject and about what's happening. Because I have faith that the board in front of us today is not a corrupt one. However, I find it odd that there's zero urgency on this matter. We can move data retention to 1 day, but what you're not understanding is it takes a millisecond to download sensitive information for someone to have and use forever. Again, this isn't about being anti-police or anti-public safety. It's about recognizing that public safety and civil liberties are not mutually exclusive. Our government should never ask its citizens to surrender one in order to receive the other. And before we help build privately financed surveillance networks across this country, we need to understand what exactly we're building and who we're giving that power to. I want to read a statement from Peter Thiel, who, by the way, is also opposed to higher education and believes the women's suffrage movement was a mistake. Anyway, his statement says, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible." And is that our belief as a community? Because I surely hope not. Lastly, I'd ask every alderman to read or reread George Orwell's novel, Animal Farm, because it's going to highlight these important topics. How unchecked power leads to corruption. How those with power can manipulate the masses. How ignorance makes people easier to control. And how exploitation can be disguised through the language that presents as public safety. Last quote I want to leave you with. "If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything." By Malcolm X.
Dale Arnold, 31603 East Ryan Road, Grand Valley, Missouri. I'll just mention on flock, that's still an animal out there yet to be determined. Just as a license plate reader, it may not be an issue, but as some of the things that are developing coming down the pike from that, it's going to have to be something you're going to be vigilant on, and legal's going to have to watch to make sure we're not going to be crossing the line and infringing on someone's rights and privacies. There are required warrants for certain things to occur, and some of these things that they're bringing down the pike might violate that line. I'm also here to talk about the tax proposal you have to put on the ballot. I think this is a very ill-advised and rushed and not very well planned proposal, in that it's going to be voted on twice tonight. You should have had it at a previous meeting where it can be discussed, so the public could have more opportunity to talk about it and be able to let you know how they feel. And I can tell you, I've heard from a lot of people, and in fact, everybody heard from a lot of people earlier this month when they voted 85% against taxes. Not how you labor it, but they were against taxes. Amendment 5 went down in a record fashion. And I'd like all of you, reach the person next to you and take money out of their pocket. I mean, do it, because that's what you're going to be doing. It says in your proposal that you're going to get the money from the businesses that sell products here and make them pay for the roads and the law enforcement needed for that. But that's not where the money's coming from. That money's going to come out of the pockets of the people who buy the items from out of town. Now, a lot of these people are people on very tight budgets. They don't have the ability to pay the higher prices locally. They can get it delivered to them cheaper over the internet, and yes, they save a penny or two on sales tax. It's proposed that this will bring in $1 million. That's $1 million you're taking out of your neighbor's pocket. That's not right. Just because our local neighbor, Blue Springs, is going out for doing this, doesn't mean we have to follow suit and put our citizens in a situation where they're already fighting with tight budgets. And the city's fighting with the tight budget, I know. And over the next 3, it's going to be even tighter. But just like all of the citizens out there who don't have an opportunity to increase their income, they have to tighten their belt and make tough decisions about what they will and they won't do. That's what you're going to have to do. So really think hard, because this is a situation I feel is going to be a big waste of money that you go out and you spend anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 to put this on the ballot to pay for the election process to get a no vote that has already been told to you earlier this month. So please be advised and vote appropriately. Thank you.
My name is Charles Barton. My address is on file back there. My wife and I are retired. We're on fixed incomes, as with a lot of our friends, they're on fixed incomes. Our expenses in the last year have went up 30%, and I can show you proof of that. Everything has went up. The tariffs have increased. We're paying for that. We're paying increased gas prices. Every time you go to the store, grocery prices go up. I ask that you not impose this use tax. It's just, we are taxed to death already. We moved out here in Grand Valley away from Independence because we wanted to get away from that fiasco there. I've lived in Independence my whole life. I wanted Grand Valley to be different. I wanted Grand Valley to be a city that values its input from its citizens. So please consider voting against the use tax. Please, we are taxed to death. Thank you.
Anyone else? Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I need a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I move the consent agenda.
Second. Second, Alderman Bray. All those in favor, or discussion? Any discussion on that? No? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. There is no previous business, no new business, no presentations, no public hearing. Next item up is resolutions. The first item on resolutions is R 26-39, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing an agreement to purchase tasers with Axon Enterprises, Inc.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution 26-39.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Alderman Knox. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this, as the title said, this would be authorizing an agreement to purchase tasers. There'd be 5 of them, and these would be to replace current tasers that we have. And these would actually be going for the school resource officers, but this would be on a 5-year replacement plan with them.
Okay. And we need a,
I just wanted to clarify that, is this coming out of general fund, or is the school district kicking in on this through our agreement with them for the SRO program?
Yeah, Chief, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, this was a capital improvement project, but it's also, we've changed our contract with the school, so we're now that cost is being offset through that contract, so we've increased that, so the impact to the city is much less.
Okay, that's what I was after, thank you.
any other questions, discussion? Nope. Need a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next item up on the agenda is Resolution 26-40, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grain Valley, Missouri, appointing Scott McMasters to Grain Valley Board of Zoning Adjustment for a 5-year term.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution R 26-40.
I have a motion. Do I
I'll
have a
second.
second? Second, Alderman Bray. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, we had an opening on the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and Mr. McMasters was kind enough and has reached out here over the last year, probably, wanting to get involved with something. So I appreciate him reaching out, and wanted to pass this resolution to make him a part of that board.
Well, any other discussion?
Not specific to this board, but are there also other positions open on community boards like park board?
Yeah, we currently have one seat open.
One seat open, okay.
Okay. We need a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Next item up on the agenda is Resolution 26-41, resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grain Valley authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley for engineering services for the Eagles Parkway and Kirby Road intersection improvements.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution R 26-41.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussions?
Mayor, members of the board, again, it's kind of as the title said, but if you remember, we've talked about it for a couple years, going through the budget process. One of the projects was improving that intersection at Eagles Parkway and Kirby, essentially right there in front of the high school and elementary school that's there. But it kind of goes along with a lot of the other work that we have been and are going to be doing with the trails and that. But anybody that drives through that area knows that's kind of been a problematic one over the years. So this would be the agreement to get our consulting engineer get into work on that project.
Ken, are we doing this because of the traffic caused by the school?
I mean, obviously the school is there and that is a traffic or a cost of it. Reality is it's needed upgraded for quite a while at this point. Everything from the fire station being there to that just being Eagles Parkway being a busier road now. But yeah, I mean, it all does play together.
Do we have any idea of what we're intending to do there, whether it be a traffic circle or just expanded turn lanes?
Yeah, Patrick, would you like to?
Yeah, so what we're looking at doing right now would be a signal upgrade to put in turn lanes and then also sidewalk improvements along the north side of Eagles Parkway. Most probably know that there's a trail project right now that's going to be going along the south side, but this would also be putting pedestrian paths on the north side as well with those turn lanes and the signal improvements.
And then do we know if the school district is on board with making improvements to their entryway to accommodate the extra turn lanes that we're wanting to put in?
So they would be part of the process and making sure that everything's in line with their master plan as well.
All right.
Patrick, how far is the sidewalks on the north gonna go west?
To the west would be Cross Creek Drive currently. And then all the way to Buckner Tarsney on the east end.
So Ken, does this money come out of our general fund?
This is coming out of the transportation fund.
What about the improvements to the intersection? Is that capital improvement?
I don't, well, we don't have it in there yet, but I mean, there will be some combination of that or transportation, more than likely.
Is the school district helping pay for this intersection that's for their schools?
At this time, there's no agreement with them, no.
Just as a quick reminder, this was STBG funding that we were looking to get as well, so there would be some cost share with the state.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Questions? Need a voice vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Next item up on the agenda is ordinances.
This will be the first read of Bill number B26-11, an ordinance calling an election in the city of Green Valley, Missouri to submit a proposal to impose a local use tax.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of Bill number B 26-11 and make a second reading by title only.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Alderman Knox.
Mr. Mayor, I move to postpone further consideration of B 2611 with intent of placing the question onto the voters on the April 2027 election. If I can get a second, I'd explain my reasons for requesting the delay.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I want to start by making clear that I'm not necessarily opposed to the use tax. I know there's legitimate reasons for and against it that I think we need to weigh, and that's why I'm opposing this tonight. We've not been given that chance to weigh it. The first and second reading one night on such an important matter, one day before the deadline on an issue that we have known about for over a year that I know of. We've had these discussions back and forth. There's no reason for us to not have this on a past agenda before we got to this point. So how we got here is basically we've been discussing this internally for months. The ballot deadline was known. Final regular meeting before the deadline is tonight. The deadline is tomorrow. And we're planning to do a first and second read, which denies this board's the ability to research the issue, formulate an opinion on the issue, and adequately vote, intelligently vote on the issue. And it also denies the public's right to that. We've got a ton of people in the room tonight that were shocked by the fact that this came on for a double reading. And I don't think that it's right. I don't think it serves the community, and I don't think it serves this board. That's it.
I have to agree with Alderman Bray. First time you double read was when the agenda came out. I don't know why this wasn't on earlier agendas. I don't like some of the language in it. Things I don't like is if this tax brings in $1 million a year and we're already giving the police department $2 million a year. What stops us from taking the $1 million that we're now giving them out of the general fund and saying, no, you have to operate on this? I think there needs to be some protection put in there for that. I don't think this is the right time to lay more taxes on the taxpayer. I don't think they'll pass it. And we've wasted money. We wasted money by putting it on there, whatever the cost of that may be. But I agree with Alderman Bray. We need more time to digest this.
So from a mechanic standpoint.
Oh, there's a motion on the.
Got to vote on my motion to postpone first.
Okay, we have a
Well,
motion.
what I would say, just take this into consideration. You know, we've been talking about the pay compression for our police officers, the issue with maintaining and retaining our police officers. Since I've been on the board, this is my third term, 2022. This has been a topic. We've taken steps out of the ladder. I mean, eventually it's not going to be a ladder anymore. It's going to be two poles because we've taken every step out of it for pay scale. I agree with the sentiment of Brian and Rick and others who have talked that I do feel that this is rushed. I wish that we would have had more time to discuss this as a board. I've made myself very clear on that point. However, I do, as somebody who has been in law enforcement before, and I know everything that these guys are going through, and I appreciate them coming out. You know, there's no position outside of law enforcement. I could be wrong. There's probably something, but you know, that is going to have more liability in a split-second decision than being in law enforcement. So being a new cop and starting out at what we're paying our police officers here in Grand Valley, or and even supervisors who are responsible for what their officers on the street are doing. You know, if you're a lawyer, you have a week to make a decision or a day to make a decision. You know, I don't want to start like a fire department war, but, you know, they stage for the call, right, and have a little bit of time to think about it. Our police officers are showing up to calls with no background or any information on what's happening, and they're walking in the middle of the night a lot of times and having to make a split-second decision and hoping that what the decision they're making is the correct decision. But if it's the wrong decision, then they are open for liability. Their career could be put on the line. You know, they have criminal, civil liability. There's no other job out there that has the same amount of danger as our law enforcement officers. They're missing Christmases, they're missing Thanksgivings, they're missing 4th of Julys. You know, every time we want to do a big event like you know, we were talking about the train coming in and stuff. Well, guess what? That's our law enforcement officers that are having to come in on their own time and work those events. It's stressful on the families. It's stressful on the kids. It's a very stressful job. So do I agree that, you know, we don't want more taxes? I feel it along with every other person in this room and who would potentially have to be up for a vote. But, you know, with the use tax, if you walk into Price Chopper and you buy your groceries, you're paying that 2.5% tax. If you buy those same groceries on Amazon, you're avoiding that tax, right? So it is leveling the playing field for our local businesses who are employing people here in our city. Those outside businesses that are using UPS, FedEx, the Amazon trucks that are electric and weigh as much as a F-450 that are destroying our roads. Is Amazon giving us money to pay for the repair of these roads, or are we taking money out of our general fund or transportation funds to fix these roads? Every time we have a citizen who calls in and says, hey, my street is messed up and we're trying to find money to fix these potholes and stuff, we have to think about why is the rate of our roads decaying quicker? Well, it's because there's more traffic from these outside deliveries that we're not being funded. You know, again, that one semi a week or a day or whatever it is that goes to Price Chopper, well, the roads there are being repaired because we have use tax, or we have a sales tax, right? If you're ordering your groceries online and they're being delivered, we are getting the police officers who are taking a package theft, who are dealing with the traffic accidents, with the increased traffic, our roads being damaged. That's all coming out of, we're already paying those taxes. We as taxpayers here in Grand Valley are just paying that out of the pocket. We're not being recouped. And I get that it's not those companies that are paying the tax, it's us paying the tax, but I'm choosing to buy my groceries doing it that way. I'm not choosing to, you know, shop locally or shop at a store where you're already going to be taxed for that. You know, one thing's been mentioned about taking money out of our general fund. Just so we're all aware, we don't have enough money in our general fund to support our police department today. We have 2 officers that are completely unfunded. They are funded out of our reserves. We don't have the money. So the fact that we're gonna be in a position after this use tax that estimates think that it might be $1 million, that we're gonna have enough money to take enough money out of our general fund to offset the use tax. We're not gonna have enough money in this use. I mean, $250,000 of this use tax money is going to go straight to just funding 2 police officers that we're having to get into our savings account to pay for. So I get the worry there, and we've added some language to this that I hope that, or the city has added language to this that I hope can, that we at least get a chance to read. I would at least like that to be read out loud before we make a vote on this motion. But, you know, again, you know, we have a lot of cops who, the pay compression is crazy. I mean, you almost have new cops starting today making as much as a cop that's been here for 5 to 10 years. And then, you know, the last thing I would ask everybody on this board is, you know, 2 a.m. and you're calling the cops because you think somebody's breaking in your house. Like, who do we want showing up? Do we want the professional that's here because they're making enough money to support their family, and they've chosen to be a law enforcement officer here in Green Valley? Or do we want the guy that was last in his police academy, that couldn't make it in any other police department, and he's here because of that. He's not here because he makes a good enough money and has a work environment that he can chooses to work in Grand Valley. He's here because he's forced into it because he doesn't have enough money or doesn't have a department that would want to hire him, and we're forced hiring that person because we don't pay enough money. So with that said, Brian, would we at least have the ability to read some of the additional language that is a part of this use tax before we make this vote?
I'd like to reiterate that my objection is not to the use tax itself. You have a lot of valid points, a lot of legitimate concerns, and I don't disagree with all of them. My objection is to the process that brought us here. What should have happened, as we all know, is there should have been a first read a month ago.
I agree with you.
We would have had a month for this board to evaluate the language of the ballot issue, evaluate the tax breakup. Instead, we were presented tonight with a last-minute amendment to the ballot language that addresses the concerns that were brought up tonight as far as specifying a specific percentage. We've had no time to discuss this. We've had no time to understand it, to digest it, and that's my concern. And considering the fact that we're asking the residents of the city for another 2.5% sales tax, I think that's something that deserves more consideration than a single night, last minute,
Well, again,
throw it
putting
at
this
the buzzer attempt at getting a tax faster. I don't think it's correct. I don't think it's the right process.
and putting this on the ballot is just that, right? We're putting on the ballot. We're not making a decision and saying this is happening.
But we're spending additional money to put it on the ballot that we may not need to spend. It's not gonna pass. Like, I think we all agree that there's no way the residents of Grand Valley pass this tax. As much as it may be needed.
I think it depends on how it's advertised.
It hasn't been advertised. That's the problem.
I know that's the problem. And like it seems like a lot of these things come up to like last second, and like Skinner said, it's like.
But this wasn't an emergency. The budget issue was an emergency. We didn't know what the county was going to do with our money, so we had to wait till last minute. That one made sense. We've been discussing this for over a year.
Well, then there should have been meetings and
exactly.
Prior
Thank you.
to this, and
Thank
I don't
you.
know why that didn't happen.
Thank you.
And I agree with. We need to see if we can go through with it, but like I want to see what Ken has to say also. I don't want to just like throw the whole thing under the bridge. I at least want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, there's no difference in voting to postpone it, because voting to postpone it kills it. So I mean, at least we could go forward with at least the
voting to
vote.
postpone it extends it out to the April election. We'll have time to discuss it. The people will have time
This
to
vote
understand
is to put a ballot measure on in November, so it
And
would
I'm
kill it.
extending it out 5 months to the April election is all I'm asking. I'm not saying kill it. Just don't do it tonight.
You know, I've got all my concerns written down before anybody in this audience spoke. And those gentlemen sitting out there know that nobody on this board supports them more than I do. But I want it done right, and I want them protected with the fact that we can't just shift money from general funds because this is bringing in more money, so you're not gonna get what you're already getting. We're just gonna take your money from this new pot. What do they gain? They haven't gained a thing, and that's not right. We need to protect those guys, and we need to make sure that the money comes in, goes to them, and it's not taken out somewhere else because this is a cash flow. I got a real problem that that's not in there. They're not protected.
And I'll close my debate points out with this one last point. I'm not arguing that what we're doing is prohibited by law. We're entitled to do this. We've done it this way before. I'm pointing out that doing things like this strengthens the public view that they're being left out. And at this current time in our history, that's a big thing for the residents of this town. And we need to respect what they want.
When our own officers don't support it, stand there and say, we don't support it, my God, what else do you want? They didn't come up here and say, hey, we support this, go for it. They come up here and said, we don't support it. They don't want it. That ought to tell us something.
So is April the soonest we could bring this back?
Yeah, the February one is just for bond issues. There's a special election you could do for bonds.
There is a mechanism, legal maybe can verify this for me, that we can submit something late, but it requires a court order, so we would have to go to court and get the court's approval to put it on the ballot late.
I feel like that'd still be.
Yeah, how much more does that cost then?
Yeah.
I'm just, he asked the question, I was just answering the question.
When's-
not advocating
when's the-
for that.
What's the deadline?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just so the public's aware, we were also kind of blindsided by this. So I'm just gonna put that out there.
So we have a motion to postpone.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
It's already seconded.
Yeah, she did.
Second. Need a
Let's do roll call. Just,
roll call vote.
Yep. So let's do Alderman Bray.
To clarify, we're voting in favor. A yes vote is a postpone vote.
This is to
Your
postpone.
motion.
Okay. Then I vote yes, we postpone.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Lindberg,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Soul,
Yes.
and then Alderman Skinner.
No.
5-1.
Then the rest of it's dead. We'll finish out the rest.
There's no vote.
No vote. Okay. Next up on the agenda is the city attorney report.
I don't really have a report. I do just want to introduce myself. My name is Lorna Allenbaugh. I'll be taking over as your city attorney. I will also be working with Joe Lauber in the meantime until I get back from leave later this year. So you'll either see him or myself over the next.
Okay. Welcome. Next up on the agenda is city administrator and staff reports.
Mr. Davies.
Mayor and board, just a couple of things real quick tonight. A couple of meetings ago, we entered into an agreement with Vireo from the master planning process at Duncan and Dillingham, 7 acres out there for a proposed new park. I wanted to give you a couple of dates for the open forums that we've established for the community to come in and provide feedback on what they'd like to see at that site. Those 2 dates are Thursday, September 17th, from 6:30 to 8:30 at Prairie Branch Elementary. And then the second date is Monday, November 2nd, from 5 to 7 p.m., also at Prairie Branch Elementary. Second, we're entering that time of year where our pool season's starting to wrap down. The Grand Valley Aquatic Facility, starting today, is only open on weekends, so we're open this upcoming weekend, and then the following weekend, including Monday, Labor Day, which will be our last day. Most, if not all, of our lifeguards are college, high school age kids, so we start to lose them once school starts back up. So we normally just go to weekends until the season's over with. So just an update on that.
That was it.
Okay. Next item up on the agenda is Board of Aldermen reports and comments. Alderman Soul. Sorry.
Here we go. All right, so I wanted to address something with the flock. I represent my ward, and I've received exactly 0 contacts from the residents of my ward prior to this meeting expressing concern about flock at all. I met with Chief Turner and Captain Christensen. They showed me the whole program, the cameras, like what they're able to do and like how they're able to implement this for public safety. And it's an outstanding program. We've also we've expressed our concerns to Chief, and he's been in contact with Flock and the attorneys and trying to get verbiage corrected in the contract. This is a new technology. This is something that it's going to be changing, and there are going to be questions about it. But we're going to see those changes soon, hopefully, in the contracts, and hear from the attorneys as well. This is not a matter that's going to be resolved in municipal meeting. A lot of these concerns are going to be more of a you're going to hear them in a higher court. This system provides significant value to our officers. They already understand that any confirmed misuse would result in the board withholding support and expecting full accountability under the law, up to and including termination and criminal charges. Police officers already have access to sensitive personal information, including social security numbers, date of birth, addresses. They could steal your identity if they wanted to. But that's the trust we put in our department. And I have my full confidence is with our department. Ever since Chief Turner took assumed leadership, our department has demonstrated a clear and positive improvement in the way it operates. So I just want to say that they have my support.
Alderman Lindbergh.
I'm going to echo your words. They're very good. But I also want to say that I do support the flock cameras as a safety measure, but I also recognize that everyone in our communities, they don't feel comfortable with the technology. Their concerns are real. They do deserve a space in this conversation.
Right.
We all want the same thing, a community where people feel protected, not watched. To help us find a middle ground, build trust, I'd like to suggest an advisory committee made up of residents both for and against, business owners, and city stakeholders. This group could help us figure out how the cameras should be used, talk openly about privacy concerns, make sure we're landing on fair approach. One that supports our law enforcement in fighting theft, crimes, and help us keep our children safe, our homes, and our businesses safe without making anyone feel uncomfortable or overlooked. So it would be a suggestion that maybe we could come up with a advisory committee, just my suggestion.
Alderman Bray.
Yeah, I want to ask a few questions about something that has recently come to light around flock. Again, I'm never suggesting that anybody in our department has done any wrongdoing, but I do want to understand what, if any, interaction we've had with this new information. So 404 Media, which is a respected tech journal, tech news outlet whose reporting is frequently cited by larger mainstream news outlets such as CNN and CNBC and whatnot, has reported a document that is titled, and this is from Flock, How to Speak to City Councils About Public Safety Technology. I've read through this several times now. It's kind of concerning. So, Chief, before this document became public, have you seen this material or participated in any associated webinars?
No.
So you're not aware of this document at all?
I may have seen it. I don't know what you're referencing.
This How to Speak to City Councils document that
I'd be happy to look at that, and
I'm happy to give you a copy of it. I have a couple. So my question is, after you review that, if you can let me know if you seen that document before, participated in any associated webinar that goes along with that document, or received any similar communication guidance from Flock, and to your knowledge, has anyone else in your department?
no, I haven't been involved in any webinars, and there are, looks like cross sections of this that may have been in some PowerPoints that were shared that are online for the public to view, and this is partially why we're trying to meet with all the board members individually to talk through this so we could answer questions and then have answers ready to go in the meeting, so we could provide that at your ready.
Okay. Regardless of that specific document, has Flock ever provided you or anyone else in the department, and you kind of just answered this, with any talking points, presentations, suggested responses, or other guidance about how to discuss Flock with this board or the public?
No.
Ken, the same general question for you. Has anyone from your administration had any discussions around this document or similar language? No. Since questions about Flock have started being raised here and around the city from residents, and me and other members of this board have had discussions, have either of you had conversations with Flock about those concerns or communicating about those concerns or about how the city should respond to them?
Can you repeat that?
I'll thin it out a little bit. Has Flock, since we've started having these discussions, have you had any conversations with Flock about how to respond to the questions that the public and members of this board are asking?
No, I've had conversations, but we were talking about facts and how to make sure that we're protecting the information and the community and the contract.
When information about Flock's effectiveness, safeguards, privacy protections, or capabilities has been presented to this board, how much of that information has come directly from Flock and how much has been independently evaluated or verified by you or your staff?
So are you asking about the data that we submit?
When we're asking questions, how much of that input that you're giving back to us is
None.
generated by Flock?
No, none. These are
And
all based off our
I'm
contracts.
just getting some
and-
stuff on the record.
Okay.
I'm not.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What independent sources have we used to evaluate the claims that have been made around privacy?
Well, we use our legal department. We use resources online, and we recognize that this is not an isolated incident to Green Valley. Every agency that's involved with Flock and many other license plate reader programs are crossing over the same waters as we are. And so we gather information collectively from their endeavors as well.
So from your answers, and correct me if I'm wrong in my assumption here, you do not believe that Flock has had any meaningful influence on how their product has been presented to this board. They presented it to you, you brought it to us in your own words. They're not coaching responses or anything like that.
No, I don't need someone to tell me what I need to say. I'm well comfortable with what we have.
So the reason I'm asking these questions is not because, again, that I'm accusing you of any wrongdoing or anybody else of any wrongdoing other than Flock. What concerns me now is that we now know that Flock has developed guidance specifically for how to influence city administration and boards to buy their product. It's this document, and I can provide a link to everybody on this board, is a coaching document, plain and simple. That's all it is. They go through, and I'll point out a few things that I found that I thought was, I don't know, maybe ironic. Quote, the agencies that fare best aren't the ones with the best talking points after the fact. They're the ones who walked into the council meeting chambers first, before there was anything to react to, and said, here's what we're using, here's why we're using it, and here's how you can hold us accountable. This accountable word comes up a lot in this document, which is something that I know we're working on, but we've not seen yet. Chapter 1 is actually titled, Trust is Now Part of the Job. I kind of assumed that trust was always part of the job. So I find it ironic that Flock has to go out of the way to say, trust us. Opponents of carefully scripted narrative, they come prepared. You should also have a carefully scripted presentation that addresses those concerns ahead of time. Rarely wait until a council meeting to educate stakeholders. They brief city managers early. They meet with city members before the votes occur. Chapter 2, moving the conversation from surveillance to governance. Flock is basically acknowledging that it's surveillance. One of the most common questions agencies hear today is whether their license plate recognition technology constitutes mass surveillance. Many leaders instinctively respond by attempting to refute the claim. Flock's Jamie Hudson recommends a different approach. His approach is don't avoid the concept of mass surveillance because you're not going to convince opponents that that's not what it is. They have a case study. This is their shining star case study in this document out of Oakland, California. They acknowledge there were 140 public comments submitted during the review. The review of the product went to 2 different commissions. There was a privacy commission who opposed it. There was a safety committee who deadlocked on it. But yet their board passed it 7-1 after influence from this document. Rather than focusing solely on crime reduction, city leaders there centered on the conversation on oversight, which ironically is what I'm trying to do because I think that's the best path forward considering the situation that we're in. They also point out several tools. They have agency-controlled sharing, which we've discussed. They have an audit assistance tool that I don't think we've seen yet. There's a tool to do offense-type analytics, which I don't think we've seen yet. And they actually provide a transparency portal that we can provide so the public can log in and see everything that's happening in Flock. And I don't think that we've done that yet. There's some budget concerns in here. They point out, that the price of one recovered stolen car covers the price of one camera, which I guess is probably correct. And then they say I believe this was out of Everett, Washington, that there were 250 arrests around stolen vehicles. I believe is what they're talking about here. 250, and I think Oakland had a similar number, and I think Oakland was the one I actually wanted to point out, and I skipped over it. Oakland had a fairly small number, like under 600 or so. There were over 6,000 stolen cars that year in Oakland. 600 were recovered because of Flock. Not a great percentage hit.
That's a bad state to be using an example of.
They're the one that chose that for their case study. Local control matters. This goes on to discuss that Flock doesn't own the data and how to explain that and spin that so that we control our own data. They skip over the fact that Flock has access to the data. The contract language is fairly vague, at least with our contract, on what they can do with that data. Transparency builds resilience. I'm not going to argue with that one. I think they got that right. The story is going to get told either way. The only question is whether you're going to be the one telling it. That's guidance from Flock to police staff to sell to us. And then they have some resources and next steps. There's a Flock Trust Hub where people who are pitching this can go get more propaganda. They can book a council preparation call so that people that are trying to sell this to us can get on a call and get coached over the phone of what to say and what not to say. And then they can connect you with your customer success manager so he can come to us and do the same sales pitch in case we're not believing the people that are trying to sell it to us. This is the ethics that Flock lives by across their corporation. If you go look them up, this is the type of message that they generate everywhere they go. They know what they're doing is questionable. They're doing a money grab. They're trying to get them in as quick as possible, which is why Flock grew so incredibly fast over the last year or two. The number of cities that have adopted this. It's a money grab. They're pretty sure it's probably going to fail long term. That's Peter Thiel's, that's the way he does business, is get as much money as possible, whether it be a diabetes medication or an HIV medication or a Flock camera. He's in it for the money. That's what he does, and that's why he's a billionaire. And that's all I've got on that.
Alderman Myers.
Yeah, thank you. We've been over a lot of ground tonight on Flock, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I think everybody on the board takes safety of the citizens seriously, but we also take the rights and the protections of their privacy seriously. And I know, and I'm speaking only for myself, but I believe the rest of the board would agree with me in saying that we want what's best for this community. And in my, whether it's Flock or another technology, we're going to have to be diligent about continuing to ask questions. Questions are good, and be informed on our decision making. I see no evidence that Flock has been used for any foul purpose in Grain Valley. I understand the back end, but as as a resident of Grain Valley, as a citizen, I really feel like Flock is something that has, in the short term at least, made our city safer than it was before. And there's evidence of that. That's not to say that my mind won't change at a later date. I'm not saying that. And I also want to make clear, and I don't know if this is even the right time, we do have to do something for police officers. And I support that long term, and I think a use tax is going to be something that we will bring back. And I think it is something that if we promote it right and plan it right and put it for the people and before the police officers, is something that we can make work. We're going to have to show, though, we need to prove to the citizens of Grain Valley that we're doing it in good faith. And I know we're doing it in good faith. We need our citizens to believe that as well. So there's been a lot of ground covered tonight. We didn't get to all of it because things were taken off the agenda, and I voted for that. So the only other thing I have is tomorrow is the first day of school. There'll be a lot of people out, and just please drive carefully. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Alderman Knox.
All right, we went down the rabbit hole, so I'm gonna follow it. Alderperson Lindbergh and I spent a couple hours the other evening with Chief and the captain, and I really appreciate that, on Flock. He showed us how the system works, how it doesn't work. We debunked a bunch of the stuff that you hear, and we watched the camera out here, watched the cars, probably 50 of them go by. You can't see the driver's face. It's after that meeting and the safeguards that Chief showed us that are in place, I will not take a tool away from our officers. In fact, as I told Chief, would you put one on my street? I had my pickup stolen. It'd be nice to It was in Springs, Brian, but, I won't take a tool off these gentlemen's belt that will help them and will help the citizens. Yeah, there's some language in the contract that needs to be cleaned up, and Chief's working on that. But all in all, like me, hate me, I don't care, I support it. I think it's a great tool. And I think Chief's doing an awesome job. If you look at the system and see who can look at it, who cannot look at it, who gets shared, who doesn't get shared, the fact that one of our neighboring cities does something wrong, Chief can walk over and go, "You're out, man. You're no more on." So it's just so much scare tactic out there from people that don't understand the system. And after a couple of hours of sitting there looking at it, and Chief's showing us what you can, what you can't do. But again, those gentlemen in the back of the room have my support 110%. And as Alderman Meyer said, we're gonna revisit the use tax so we can get them to pay and get the pay structure set up like it should be. That's all I got.
Alderman Skinner.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Flock, so I'll move past that. To the guys in the back of the room, thanks for showing up. I appreciate you guys. We'll figure out a way to get this done. You guys deserve it. Thank you for what you guys do. Thank you for what you guys see, what you guys experience on a nightly, daily basis. So appreciate you guys.
Next up on the agenda is Mayor's report. Couple comments on the flock cameras. If I recall, based on conversations and looking back at history, these cameras were put in place because the citizens were complaining about so many car thefts a number of years ago. And this is a tool that is a force multiplier for the police force, when at the same time we're sitting here talking about how do we afford to pay our officers and, make sure we have enough police staff to make sure our city is safe and so on. So I think there's a lot of things we can do to make sure that, the use of them is done properly. And I have confidence in Chief and his department and making sure that happens. As far as the use tax, mechanically, we probably fell down here on getting this to the board sooner. I think there's still a valid reason that we need to look at passing it and making sure the citizens are really aware of, what the money would be going for. And to a number of folks that were asking for, hard percentages. I think we have a resolution for that at this point, but there were some comments made about this would be an additional tax to over and above what was being purchased in town. That's not, or what was being purchased at businesses in town. That's not true. This is a tax for folks that are buying stuff on Amazon. It helps level the playing field for our local businesses, as Alderman Skinner mentioned earlier, that employ hundreds and hundreds of people in town. So we do need we need a means of making sure we can cover the police force and make sure they have enough money. Our roads are being tore up by any number of delivery trucks, any number of multiple trash services that rumble through your neighborhood 3 or 4 times a day sometimes. So as we move forward and as we get this use tax on the next ballot, well, assuming we get it that far, want to make sure that folks are aware of really how that money is going to be spent. Alderman Skinner mentioned that we're already not deficit spending, but we're already pulling money from our reserves to cover 2 of the officer positions, and we've been doing that for 5 or 6 years now, I believe. So we need to look at solutions for that, and I want to make sure that, me personally, I mean, if I'm buying something on Amazon, I should be getting the same tax, or paying the same tax as if I walk into Price Chopper or Starbucks or wherever, and you know, basically helping the businesses in that sense. So beyond that, I still have not heard back from Ryan at CPKC on paying for overtime for the holiday train coming through. So at this point, I'm gonna just call it and tell them that we're not interested, and let them move the train on through Grain Valley and park it at Union Station. So that's all I have. So next item on the agenda is possible need for a closed session. Do we have a need, Ken?
3 legal.
We have a need for legal. I need a motion.
So move.
I have a motion by Alderman Lindberg. Need a second.
Second.
Alderman Sol. Need a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Alderman Sol,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Lindberg,
Yes.
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Knox.
Yes.